John. The name of the band is Nemo. And the go ahead, you look contemplative.
Yeah, I seem to remember struggling to find them, but no, I don't think I've heard of them. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. That's for sure. My name's John. His name is Andy.
It is.
Fire in the disco. Fire in the Taco Bell. Fire in the disco. Fire in the gates of hell. More on that later. But first, we have a song to listen to. Andy, please share with the class.
Sure. I'm not even going to bother asking if you've heard of this band because I know with certainty that you haven't. And if you have, you win it all. But the prize of the day would go to John. The name of the band is Nemo. And go ahead, you look contemplative.
Yeah, I seem to remember struggling to find them, but no, I don't think I've heard of them. Thank you.
Nice.
Try the feel.
Yeah, this particular track by Nemo is called Hyperdrive. So,
of course it is.
Yeah, exactly. So if you will indulge me, go off and listen to this song. And I can tell you right now, this episode is probably going to compete for some of our lowest views. If name recognition of bands is any indicator of view count, that's where we're going to find ourselves. But nonetheless, I really do love this song, and I'd be interested to hear what you think.
Oh, come on. We've done Michael Nyman, so, how bad could it
be? Fair play. Fair play.
Really interesting beginning. You got this weird resonating start. It sounds, there's a Pavement song that'll come to me that's a little bit like, but also it sounds kind of sci-fi-ish, like fluctuating electricity or something. Yeah. And then underneath this, you get sort of grim underpinning of and the two together is quite odd, and it starts to stir into this is going to be something of purpose. That's what I'm getting anyway. We'll see how it goes. just got a bit more interesting. Um, yeah, so you're getting this becomes really heavy um, sound from the guitars, and then his voice creeps in. And at first, I'm thinking it's like a Black Sabbath wannabe, but it's not quite um, there. But again, it's lovely touches with this other sort of guitar noise coming in, and then some of the other vocal echoing. It's a double track or somebody else, I don't know. Well, I'm getting this image of like a bunch of guys with long hair over their faces. You kind of seem sort of bent over their work, like some adepts in some weird cult, just pounding away at whatever thing they're going for. I have no idea. The chances of me hearing what he's saying are zero. And the the vocals are just another instrument here. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I love it. I'm not saying I hate it. But it's definitely interesting. I'm going to bring it back a sec. This again, it's really interesting. So comes back in with a heavy guitar and he starts chanting, from the Book of the Dead or whatever he's saying. Um, and you've got so much, you kind of phases out for a bit. I was listening to it again. You got so much with like the percussion, the cymbals, and this. It almost sounds like clockwork, mechanicals going off in the background. So it's like something's working away, as it were. But you're getting this heaviness and lightness. So you had it when it was like this sort of weirdy synthy organy type thing, and then the lower guitar, and then again nice high bits, and then him coming in going ooh in that ear as well. It's a nice contrast. This is I'm finding this quite fascinating. I'm just going to go back a touch. Classic. like that bit just then as well. So it broke down and then came back in again. And I'm now getting the picture because I've got like, the idea of the percussion to be like this clockwork mechanicals whirring away in the background doing some stuff. And then there's the guitars coming in. It made me think of heavy machinery, like they're mining for stuff. Um, there's some really nice drum work there as well. And then some of that traditional sort of heavy metal sound, um, which just made me laugh because I always found that really funny, sensical, really. But there you go. But it all seems to work quite well, actually. Yeah, I'm enjoying myself listening to this for some reason. I don't know why, but I am. Nice ending. Of course, they wouldn't go quietly. They wouldn't just fade away or stop. There's all these little pulses and final bits going out, which I really like anyway. I like the almost Morse codey bit then. Do, 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 do. Again, just feels like there's still a bit of life flickering between in the cables, electricity going. Yeah, this was it's interesting. It's a nice blend actually. So you got this kind of call it space rocky type stuff, I guess. I never really liked that term, but you definitely got some heavy metalish type stuff in there. Um, and also this sort of old indie, almost early 90s sound to it. There is like a bit of Pavement in there, definitely, which obviously they stole a lot of their stuff from the Fall. Um, so yeah, this is a really nice blend of things. And the weird shit that was going on, it just mixed together really nicely. Um, it's not a tune that I'm gonna myself to sleep to tonight, but I will go back to this because I thought it was intriguing, and that's probably why I like it. So we need to investigate further, um, and to do that, we have to go back and speak to Andy.
All right, so you're back from Hyperdrive.
Mm.
What did you make of this track, my friend?
Well, thankfully, it wasn't what when I heard Hyperdrive. I was thinking not another theme tune to Asteroids, but no, it wasn't. I will be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure what I think about this. Um, interesting, definitely. Um, and I like it, definitely, but I'm still not finalized in my head exactly how I feel about it and how I relate to it. But yeah, so it starts off with this resonating part, which I think is a guitar. It could be a keyboardy,
Mhm.
organy effect thing, but it could easily be a guitar. Now, there is a similar sound to this at the start of Texas Never Whispers by Pavement from their wonderful Watery Domestic EP. Um, the Pavement intro is slower and it does sound more organ-like, but it could be either, and I don't really know. But it
Mhm.
has that sci-fi spacey feel to it, like energy or electricity that's like pulsating and fluctuating. And then underpinning this, or perhaps tethering it, is this grim somber faced guitar part. Um, it feels like someone in a uniform, or perhaps a habit, has walked into the room with purpose to make an announcement. Um, it's yeah, it's just there's two sounds make quite an odd combination, and there is a sort of musical unease there already, and the tension within it. So the electric ball of fun fades, and then we get these forthright guitars and shitloads of cymbals. There's more sense of purpose, and there's like this three-note rise at the end of a phrase. It's classic sort of metal, before the singer then begins. And at first, I'm wondering if this is just a bunch of Sabbath wannabes. The heaviness of the guitar feels almost physical. It's a pounding. And there's this weird kind of earthy kind of industrial sound to it. So it's sort of like pre-industrial revolution workplace is what I'm getting here. After a few lines, I give up quite easily, you'll be shocked, to try to decipher the lyrics. In my mind, the vocalist is now just another instrument in the melange of the sound, and that's fine with me. If you're just taking that small bit, those few lines of, the start, the heavy guitars and him singing as an example of a slice of this song, I'd have switched off pretty quickly, because that heavy metal sort of 70s sound isn't anything that really floats my boat, and loads of times before and all that. But things don't stay like that for long. And it's kind of, I think, the blending and changing that makes this really interesting. So what we then get is this kind of, I think it's a synth line, which is doing a facsimile of a human harmony, which then bleeds into another voice. It could be double tracked his voice, and he's sort of harmonizing and singing. I just said, I think it's a few times. So getting these overlappings, and I'm getting images at this point of these guys. I don't know how many there is, but I'm picturing all of them with long hair covering their faces, and they're bent over their work, like sort of acolytes in a cult. And the uniforms are definitely hemp based now. It's very interesting. So the electrical sounding part that we discussed returns, and it shimmers through an extended passage to the next verse. I actually feel like we're traveling along somewhere, could quite easily be underground through a passage. That metalwork from the drummer is absolutely goddamn relentless. And it sounds, because for a while I kind of phased it out, because it's just going on, and then it sort of came back to my attention within the layers of everything else in the song, and it sounded to me like some sort of clockwork mechanics working away behind you, sort of never stopping, like the Terminator. You cannot stop; it will not end. And now I'm thinking in my head, they're fucking mining something here. Tom Waits song. What is he doing in that shed? What is he making? So there's this contrast between the lower, heavy sounds and the lighter or higher sounds, and it works really well together. So the singer then recites more words from whatever sacred text he's reading. I think in the reaction I said it could be the Book of the Dead. It could be anything, really. It could be the Unabomber's Guide, for all I know. And at 3.5 minutes, there's this breakdown to just a light guitar part, which sounds, because of the contrast, it sounds heavenly. It really does. And then we come back in with the heavy machinery stomping in, and we get this classic metal trope of these stomping guitars, and there's some really nice drumming with it as well, before the resonating guitar comes back in once again. The vocals return, and to my ears they sound more like a narrative nature now than sort of proclamations of before. It wasn't particularly aggressive before, but it was that sort of almost that we talked about this before, this sort of Ozzy Osbourne like sort of distant vocals where you've almost unemotive whatsoever.
Yep.
Or not uninterested, but do you know what I mean? It's just not quite connecting with it, which makes it really interesting. But here, I think he extends his notes as he's singing a bit more, and it just sounds, for want of a better word, more friendly. I mean, it's not that, but you know what I mean. It's more relatable.
Yeah, it's more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds really good. And then, of course, we approach the end of the song, and they're not going to go quietly. There's no gentle fade out or sudden stop here. And there's this sort of wired down with all, hisses and blurs and all this lot. I particularly like the little Morse code pulsing you get at the end from it. It leaves you feeling that there's still a bit of residual life or electricity left in the cables,
Yeah,
and they could come back at any point. It's a really interesting blend of sounds, and there's definitely some old school metal in there. There's some, for want of a better word, sort of spacey rock type stuff, which I never really like that term, but you know what I mean. And
hmm
there is also some alt rock stuff in there as well. And there is a bit of Pavement in there, which kind of shocked me. And of course, Pavement stole most of their early sound from The Fall, so you could argue there's a bit of The Fall in there as well. Um, it's not a tune that I will hum to myself as I fall asleep tonight. However, it is a tune that I will return to because I found this fascinating and intriguing.
yeah.
And I'm shocking myself, I did like it.
Well, I'm glad you did, and I knew that it was probably bordering on that line of I enjoy this, I'm grappling with this, I don't like it, sort of like somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And I didn't know where you were going to fall on it, but I knew I was kind of tempting fate by giving it to you, and there's a possibility might not have clicked with you. I'm glad you did like it though, because for me, it has all these little, I don't know, there's all these little mechanisms happening in the song
Mm.
that give it enough intrigue to where I'm all in on it and the album itself as well. This is full disclosure. I think it was after you and I had wrapped up our discussion about the life and times and Ice Cream Eyes, where I'd come to you and I'd said, you know how I came across these guys, John? I'd come to a point where like I had listened to everything by Failure and Hum, and I wanted other bands that sounded like Failure and Hum. So I literally Googled what bands sound like these bands. And it came up, this is like, I don't know, close to 10 years ago. And it came up with like these Reddit threads of like some of these acts that fans of the aforementioned bands, Failure and Hum, enjoyed and said, oh, there's some correlative stuff here. So I like checked out some of them, and The Life and Times is one of them. And the other one was this band Nemo. And I got to say, this song of all of the songs by both the bands is the one that really stood out to me. Not to say that there aren't other great songs by them, but they're as interesting and intriguing as their sound is in this song is also it's like emblematic of the band themselves. I mean, there are so many different acts, we'll call them, because there's like hip hop artists and everything from like French electronica to Brooklyn indie rock to metal that all have the same band name, Nemo. That there's now a website dedicated to tracking all of them. And many of them are blue hyperlinked listings that you can then click on and go to the band's website or the artist's website and learn more about them. But of course, not these guys. It was just the stark black font with a small blurb about who they were and where they're from. And that was all I had to work with. So they don't have a Wikipedia. They don't have their own personal like band website. I couldn't find shit for social media on them. So all of this information I had to find was sort of like cobbled together through a vast search of the interwebs. And again, it yielded very scant information about them. And that, again, only adds to the mystique and aura behind this band that only put out one album and sort of just disappeared. So they are a beyond obscure one album band that existed in the 90s before disappearing into the ether forever. They formed in 1994 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And they consisted of Jeremy Gillespie on vocals guitar, Patrick Maguire on bass and vocals, which I think was that other vocal track that you heard, Daryl Simpson on guitar and keyboard, and Todd Harapiak on drums. Their sound has been described as space rock revival, shoegaze, and alternative metal. As suggested, they are a bit of a mystery as there is very scant information about them found anywhere. Only further adding to their mystique, the band only released this one 8-song album entitled In Stereo, which was released in 1999. there were a lot of reviews out there, mostly from these sites that aggregate like just the regular people and their experience listening to the album. So, Album of the Year, which has amassed 48 ratings of the album, scores it an 83 out of 100. And Sputnik's aggregated score for the album, based on 17 reviews, was 4.3 out of 5 and designated thus as superb. In an article for Exclaim, Michael Barclay would write of the album: intense, heavy dramatics are offset by lilting, almost ethereal, effect laden guitars and extended passages of hypnotic, swirling guitars, loping grooves, and distant, reverbed vocals place the listener in the center of a prairie snowstorm. Frightening and beautiful at the same time, awesome in the true sense of the word. The finale, Spacesuit, is a bit much, though. A 29-minute track comprising a 10-minute song, a 6-minute drone, and 13 minutes of crickets chirping, providing a soothing respite from the sonic storm. So, yeah. You might want to avoid that last track if you go down any wormholes, John. Just put that out there.
There's something I've got which has got that similar thing. It's got like crickets chirping and stuff for about 10 minutes. Do you know what? I think it's like a granddaddy thing.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that being their lo-fi toying around with stuff.
And it's quite fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And I came.
Just let it run.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's taking a breather, sipping on a beer, stretching. I came across this review left by someone on rateyourmusic.com that I thought was both apropos and kind of sweet too. So I absolutely love everything about this album. My late grandfather was an astronomer, and whenever I listen to this, it helps me look back and remember the time we spent together, looking through his outbuilding turned observatory at the distant planets and stars, thinking about what else might be out there. I have a huge interest in space and astronomy thanks to him. And when I listen to this album, the music carries such a huge wave of nostalgia and dreaminess that it transports me straight into the vast depths of space. I feel like I'm soaring through the galaxies, passing burning stars and black holes, while I pilot a spacecraft that looks straight out of 1969. And then they say,
that is nice.
Yeah, that is nice. It's sweet. I love the anecdote about the grandfather and the nostalgia therein. And the funny thing is, they punctuate the review by saying, "Side note: Hyperdrive is one of the greatest pieces of music ever recorded." A very subjective statement, but I do enjoy that they're passionate about the song that I too enjoy. So
it's just interesting that they mentioned that, because I think my folks live in France, and there's a place we go to in France which is so rural that there's basically no light pollution. So you can sit up at night, and as the sun sets, there's that in this small village of 25 houses, there's 2 street lights, and you see all the bats around. You get the swallows late evening, and then when the lights go down, you get the bats, the pipistrelles around the lights, and then when they go out at 10 o'clock, there's no real light around for miles, and you can see the Milky Way with the naked eye. And we've done this for a number of evenings. You just lie flat on the grass on your back and look at the stars, and it's one of the most creative things you can do, clearing your mind. I mean, the whole Greek mythology came from looking at the stars, and they created stories from it, and other cultures have done so. So I really like that sort of connection with creativity and going off into the stars and the adventures and all that. It is cool.
Yeah, it's boundless, like one's imagination can be. So it makes perfect sense that one would inspire the other, or whatever. You know what I mean? So, the lyrics for this song, which I know that you forfeited on pretty early in your attempt to listen and retain.
And normally I'm such a stickler, but
exactly. Oh, so half the time I'm like, this is such a futile effort reciting these lyrics. I know John got them. So it's 8 million miles till we touch down, which in and of itself, 8 million miles till we touch down is a measurement that could only be used like literally if you were in space. So it's really, really fun. So 8 million miles until we touch down, feeling the earth pull me home. once and I'm too tall, and I just sit and watch it all. 8 million times like the first one, 6 million lost through. I miss that earthling. And I like the way it feels without you, and I like the way that it won't come too soon. And I like the way it feels without you, and I like the way it won't come too soon. And I like the way I feel without you. And I feel like the way that I still miss you. And that is pretty much it on the lyrics right there. So
It's so strange how obviously the lyrical content is this, space rocky thing and the 8 9 mils to a touchdown and missing Earth and home. And I didn't really catch. Perhaps I heard the word Earth. I'm not even sure if I did or not. But my mental picture was almost like industrial underground, and that passage from like the first cluster of vocals to the second ones, and I thought it was like going along a passage, and of course the isolation of being in a spaceship and all that darkness and blackness, and then time and distance is just an abstract thing. At one point
yeah,
it goes on forever. And it's similar, I guess, to being underground, working in a mine, but mine was more earthbound, and there's this,
yeah.
starbound, as it were. It's really interesting that that what I pictured out of it and what they intended, what they wrote about.
Yeah, well, you're right though, because vast nothingness is a commonality between the two. I mean, whether
Yeah,
you're,
yeah,
in a submarine at the depths of the
yeah,
sea,
yeah.
or trudging through tunnels below the earth, or soaring in the vast darkness that is the galaxy. It's all, you're right. The isolation, the aloneness, the introspective kind of atmosphere that those places allow for, are
Hmm.
universal across the three.
Yeah,
So it makes sense. They correlate. But yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I guess I'm a sucker for some good space rock, and like I think you hear it, and you hear more metal than probably I do, because I probably have listened to a lot more and different kinds of metal, to the point where I'm like, oh, this is so far from thrash or speed or black metal or any of
yeah,
these
yeah.
other subgenres. But I still think that your point is completely valid though, because those drums were butchered. They were murdered in this. And that guitar was hefty. It did carry some weight, but you're also right that the vocal delivery is not so metally, even though there are some similarities to like maybe Ozzy, but that's probably about it. I mean, a lot of the other stuff is that
But
either that.
really, yeah, but early Aussie, not screechy. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Almost like disassociated Ozzy when
yeah,
he would sing that early stuff. Yeah, there's some of that going on for sure, which I think you find in some hum, the hums vocals, and you find in like Page Hamilton when we discussed Helmet as well. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's something about this particular subgenre I really, really like. So thank you for giving me the platform here to foist this upon you, and I'm glad you survived it and actually walked out of the other side more intrigued than
yeah,
turned off. Right? So
yeah.
awesome, awesome. Well, folks out there in the listening audience, out there in the stratosphere, let us know what you thought of Nemo and this ride on Hyperdrive. Um, Drop your comments down below. Let us know if you enjoyed it, what it made you think of, maybe other acts. If you have any suggestions for our Friday episodes, pop them down below. We really do appreciate you guys. Love interacting with you and seeing you guys interact with one another. Also, if you're here and we still have your attention, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you be so inclined. Trying to grow and popularize the channel. Can't do that without you guys. It's a proven fact. We've seen the numbers. So thank you so much. And hopefully John and I will see all y'all and growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.